So first of all, just like everyone else, I'm insanely grateful to be here. There's a lot of amazing people in the crowd, a lot of amazing speakers. I'm bummed that I wasn't here earlier to get it. So Danny, I'm bummed I missed yours and others as well. And I've heard that the afternoon crowd is usually like the sleepy crowd after lunch and all those kinds of things. So hopefully I didn't kind of jinx myself by showing up a little bit later than planned. But I've been under the weather this week, and I was texting Mitch yesterday. I said, man, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it tomorrow. And he said, you've got to make it. I've got to have the rural representation. I've got to have the Roseburg representation. And I ended up kind of miraculously recovering here over the last 12 hours or so. So I'm really grateful to be here. So really quickly, a question for people. I want to engage people really fast before I dive into my part. Number one, who here is an entrepreneur? Okay, cool, so mostly everyone. And just maybe 2 or 3 people, why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Just some brave people, really quick. Yeah, right there. Right there, so choice, what else? Crazy. What was that? Crazy? Yeah, crazy, exactly. How about one more? Freedom. So I wanted to be an entrepreneur for the exact same reasons for that. But what ended up happening to me was those same things that I was going for ended up trapping me. I ended up being trapped in a company that I created, that I hated. I hated to wake up in the morning, and I didn't even want to go to the job that I made for myself. Now, I'm going to walk through kind of my story and why that happened, and now with this company, with Carrot, how that's not happening, and what I've changed, and what my Wilsons are with that. But I'm the CEO of a company called Carrot, once again. We're a software as a service company based in Roseburg, Oregon, the big metropolis of Roseburg, Oregon. And we have a team of 7 people right now. Our current annual run rate's a little over $1 million a year. We will, on our current rate, hit about $2 million this year with recurring revenue, which is pretty darn cool with a bootstrapped company based in rural Oregon, a software company. It's not a wood products company. So my story starts back in Klamath Falls, Oregon. That's where I grew up, another small town. And my dad was an entrepreneur. He's kind of more of a small business owner. He started a equipment rental store. My mom became a small business owner as well. She started a party store, and I can remember in the summers all the time, my summers were filled with me packing chairs to weddings and setting up elephant bounces for kids on the weekends. And that's how my summers were. I'd be playing baseball, and I'd be setting up elephant bounces, and that's what I thought that business was. So I immediately did not want to be in business ever. I had no aspirations for being in business. Not a one, because I thought that business and entrepreneurship must be this. That you have to be tied to your company so much. I'm going to be doing stuff I don't like to do, and that's what my parents did. And I love my parents to death. My dad is one of my biggest inspirations. He's an insanely positive influence on me. But that's one thing that I've learned from what he has done. I said, you know what, I don't want to do that. So I thought I wanted to be a doctor. I thought I wanted to be an attorney in college. Because I went to school at OIT in Klamath Falls. And I had a professor there after I decided I did not want to be a doctor in high school because I went through a health occupations class. It lasted 1 day in the ER in my rotation. And I saw something that wasn't even that bad, and I almost fainted, and I said, okay, the medical profession is not for me. So now let's go to college and let's try to figure it out. So I went to college, and I had a professor who was really, really positive. He was insanely passionate about what he did. He was an attorney, and he was a real estate investor. And he was really passionate about relaying that message and how he was an entrepreneur. So I thought, you know what? I like what he's doing, so I'm just going to be an attorney also and a real estate investor. So I got the real estate investor part down. I bought my first fourplex, actually, in college when I was 21 with none of my own money, which was kind of a good mindset thing to get over. But what I did not do good was I studied really, really hard for the LSAT. Has anyone here ever taken the LSAT? Yeah, so I'm usually a pretty damn good test taker. I flunked it twice, and I applied to 4 schools, and I didn't get into any of them. Even the backup school, when you go online and say, which law schools can anyone get into? There's 1 or 2, and I didn't get into it with a 4.0 in college. So that left me with my next thing and said, okay, my wife and I, we got married, and we moved up to Portland, actually, so I lived here for 3.5 years. After college, and I said, I'm going to give myself a year to figure this entrepreneur thing out. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't really have much money other than my cash flow coming in from my properties that I have. I'm going to figure something out. And that was one of the toughest, but also looking back, one of the most amazing years of my life. because I had my back against the wall. Things were hard. I went in debt about $15,000. I paid my taxes on my credit card, which I didn't know you could even do at the time. And that led into a series of mentors that have taught me a couple things that are going to lead to my Wilson big time. So 3/4 of the way through that first year is when I started to go, okay, I don't think I'm going to have to get a job now because I've kind of got this thing figured out, enough to pay my bills anyway. And a mentor of mine, he still lives here in Portland, he was a really huge influence on me as far as showing me, he was really positive all the time. And not blindly positive, but positive. And through that year, I ended up starting a company on the side, an online publishing company, as I was working for him. And then my wife graduated college. We moved to Roseburg because it was one of 2 places in Oregon that had a position for the type of medical work she does. She's a dermatology physician assistant. And we were really crossing our fingers for Bend. Like growing up in Klamath, we went to Bend quite a bit. We love Bend. We're like, all right, we're going to Bend. We're just going to do the Roseburg interview just to do it, just for experience, right? We're going to do it for experience. Because Roseburg was the last place I ever thought I would move. And so, long story short, we ended up moving to Roseburg. She got that job, didn't get the one in Bend. In the first 2 years, we were 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like a lot of people who go to rural communities who just came from a bigger city. They think, I'm going to go somewhere else. So this is just a temporary move. And because of that, I ended up growing this online publishing company, which did several $1 million over the next couple of years. But I was inside of my home office 8 to 10 hours a day. I was a hermit. I was a high-paid hermit. I had team members around the country who worked for me, but I was miserable. I woke up every single morning and hated it. I remember vividly waking up, my wife going to work, and then she came back one day at lunch, and I was still in bed. Like that. This was because I was up until 2 or 3 in the morning that night before, and this one thing, I knew what was happening was not cool. I knew this is not why I became an entrepreneur, and my brother called me. And one of his best friends, who I knew really, really well, and I don't see a clock. Is there a timer just so I can know? Okay, cool. My brother called me, and he said, hey, Nick died. And I go, no way. At that time, he was 34 years old. So I'm 32 right now. He was 34, had 3 kids, and he was in his backyard. He was in his backyard gardening on a Sunday. And him and his wife were talking about retirement and what they were going to do in 20 or 30 years. And he had a job and the whole thing. And I'm thinking, you know what? Man, he passed away. They were talking about the future, thinking that they had this huge future. And he was back there, and he didn't even get the chance to walk back into his house that day. He died out there in his backyard. And so we were out there at the funeral, and over that next month, it really, really hit me. Because I'm going, you know what? Nick was 34 and he passed away, had 3 kids and a wife. And I'm wasting all this time. Like now, it moved from me wasting my own time to me wasting Nick's time, because he doesn't have that anymore. And so that was one of the biggest things that kind of kicked my butt into gear and said, you know what? We're not going to be here forever. All this time that I'm kind of wasting being wishy-washy and doing stuff that I don't really care about much. It's making good money. We have great products. We have great support, but there was no spirit or no anything behind it. Nothing meant anything to me. So I went through a series of mindset shifts after that. Ended up selling that company to my business partners, getting out of it. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I know that this is not where I want to spend my time. So I did that, and then actually a side product out of that publishing company is where Carrot actually started. So we launched Carrot, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go into this business being crazy, crazy intentional about making it fun, about making it matter, and about being that beacon of positivity that my dad was, that my mentor up here was, that my mom was, that other people I've met were. And I want to make Carrot something that is insanely positive and is a beacon of positivity for people. It's actually one of our core values at Carrot. And so we did that. We launched that about 2.5 years ago, and like I said, we're doing really well right now. But what's happened since then, this is the cool part, and Paul actually is from Roseburg and an intricate part of our startup scene down there. What's happened since then is I got out of my shell. I got out of my shell in Roseburg and said, you know what? We're 2 years in. We're going to be here a little bit longer, so I might as well actually get out and meet people. And I got out and met people. And I said, you know what? There's all this negativity in rural Oregon in general, not just rural, or not just Roseburg, but rural Oregon in general. High unemployments back in 2008, 2010. Just people in general are really negative. You open up the newspaper, and 70% of everything in there is just crap. Like you read it, and you feel like you're in a worse mood than when you started. As an example, I posted on my Facebook yesterday. One of the articles in the around the area section was a guy on drugs pretending to be like a tree, and I'm going. And you read, he said he's trying to jump in the grates in the street in Myrtle Creek, and he's standing there in a planter bed trying to be like a tree. And I'm going, there's got to be a lot better positive stories out there than this. So when we started to go and look for other entrepreneurs in the area, this is back in 2010, I knew they were there, but we didn't really know where to find them. So me and a buddy of mine, we were drinking beer at a place across from the Loft, which is the co-work space that I started. And we said, man, there's got to be other young entrepreneurs here. Let's find them. And we said, let's just, same place, same time next month. Let's bring back people and let's start something. And we ended up bringing back 8 people. I didn't bring back any. He brought 8. So that was the start of it. And over the 4 years, the Young Entrepreneur Society has grown 180 some odd members. We get 40 to 60 people at our meetups each month, our pub talks each month. The Loft is thriving. We have amazing companies working out of there, really creative companies that are working on a national scale. We have people living in Roseburg because it's amazing. And now I'm going to tie this to the Wilson now, the 2 Wilsons actually. One of them is that I've really learned, and this is the reason why we're starting to see a lot of cool things happen in Roseburg and with my company and just entrepreneurship in general for me, is be that beacon of positivity and possibility. I think a lot of people are positive. You know, a lot of people are positive, but if my dad didn't make that effort, and Jack, my mentor up here, if they didn't make that effort to push that positivity past their minds and be the beacon of it, I never would have heard it. If that professor didn't do the same thing, I never would have heard that. So that's what we've been doing in Roseburg, is we've been being a beacon of positivity for what can happen in Roseburg and rural America with entrepreneurship. That's what we do with Carrot. We always build in these beacons of positivity and possibility to our products so it inspires our customers more, which gets them to really lock into what we're doing more and obviously spend more money with us and tell more people about it. The second thing is know that we're not going to be around forever. And that honestly is one thing. I know it's really morbid. The one thing that we all have in common in this room is we're all going to die. Like, it's crazy, crazy morbid, but it's true. Unless someone comes up with some insane invention, we're all going to die, okay? So, and hopefully it's a long time from now. But for me, whenever I get stuck in that rut, whenever I get stuck in my own mind on overthinking stuff, on delaying, on not doing stuff that matters, I think about it and go, okay, you know what? I'm not going to be here forever. Nick thought he was going to be here 20 years, for 20 more years at least. He wasn't going to be there for dinner that night, and he didn't know it. So that, to me, is a big Wilson, is we're not going to be here forever. And I've got a quote that I'm going to end with. Steve Jobs, I don't know if any of you guys have heard this, but it's an insanely good commencement speech that he did at Stanford, I think in 2010 or something like that. And he said this. He said, "Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what's truly important. Remembering that you're going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You're already naked. There's no reason not to follow your heart." So I encourage everyone here to, number one, don't trap yourself in a business you don't love. Remember that we're not going to be here forever, so do what the heck matters right now. Okay, if you don't like your job, get out of it. If you don't like the company you created, sell it, close it, do whatever. You can change stuff, but know that we don't have forever to do that. And the second thing is, I know it's something that some people do. I'm not an extrovert. I'm an introvert who I've had to be an extrovert to make things happen. And be that beacon of positivity. Because if you can affect one person, guys, this is the reason I'm here today, is I did not feel good at all this week, but I knew, I said, you know what, if I can be that beacon of positivity and help out just one damn person in that room to change something, that's all I care about. I'll make the trip, even though I don't feel good. So be the beacon of positivity and know you're going to die, but do something with that. So thank you, guys.